So, you're tuning in because you're a bit of a history buff, right? Or maybe you're just super curious about the extraordinary people who shaped our world. Either way, you're in for a treat today. Today, we're traveling back in time to meet a true American hero, Clara Barton. She's not your run-of-the-mill historical figure. Oh no, Clara was a nurse, a teacher, a pioneering woman in the field of first aid, and the founder of the American Red Cross. Impressive portfolio, right? Let's buckle up and head straight into her incredible life story. Clara Harlow Barton entered the world on a day that's all about giving. Christmas Day, 1821. She was born in a cozy little house in Oxford, Massachusetts. And you know what they say, youngest siblings are always the favorites. Just kidding, but Clara was the youngest of 5 children, with 2 sisters and 2 brothers to be her role models. Her parents, Stephen and Sarah Barton, were total rock stars when it came to supporting Clara's dreams. Her mom, Sarah, was a force of her own. She was an advocate for women's rights and a believer in education, even teaching Clara how to read at a young age. Her dad, Stephen, was a farmer and a horse breeder, but did you know he was also a soldier in the Revolutionary War? Yep. So you can see that the idea of public service and bravery was something Clara was literally born into. One thing that set the Barton family apart was their deep sense of morality and social responsibility. Clara was taught from a young age to always consider the needs of others. Her dad used to share stories from the Revolutionary War, not just the battles and heroes, but the importance of taking care of wounded soldiers. It's no wonder Clara was deeply moved by these tales and looked up to her dad as a role model. Growing up, Clara was a total bookworm. She loved learning about history, geography, and philosophy. But life wasn't all just books and daydreams. Clara had a flair for the dramatic. Her siblings would put on plays, and she would often be right in the center of the action. So she had a bit of a theatrical side, too. Despite being super shy, Clara was also pretty adventurous. Her brothers were avid horseback riders, and guess who wanted to join in the fun? That's right, Clara. She learned how to ride, and soon enough she was galloping around the countryside like a pro. It was on these rides that Clara felt a sense of freedom and fearlessness, qualities that would serve her well in the years to come. But Clara's early life had its challenges, too. At school, she was often timid and reserved. It might be hard to imagine that someone who would one day be so courageous could once be so shy. But that's what makes her story so relatable and inspiring. Clara didn't start out as a superhero. She had fears and insecurities just like all of us. By overcoming her shyness and embracing her family's teachings, Clara Barton was set on a path toward greatness. Even in her early years, you could see little sparks of the fearless humanitarian she would become. She was shaped by the love and values instilled in her by her family, the life lessons she soaked up like a sponge, and her own natural sense of compassion and adventure. When Clara Barton was a young girl, she adored going to school. The smell of freshly sharpened pencils, the rustling of pages being turned, the little joy of learning something new, Clara soaked it all in. But here's the kicker. She was super duper shy. Yeah, believe it or not, this future angel of the battlefield had a tough time standing up in front of her classmates to even read a paragraph out loud. So how did someone so timid manage to become a powerhouse humanitarian? Well, life has a funny way of turning weaknesses into strengths, and Clara's journey was no exception. Her teachers quickly noticed that despite her shyness, Clara was brilliant. She was an excellent student who had a knack for subjects like arithmetic and spelling, which was pretty impressive for a young girl in the 1800s. One of her teachers, sensing that Clara's shyness was holding her back, came up with a genius idea. Why not have Clara assist other students who were struggling? Aha! This clever strategy accomplished 2 things at once. First, it gave Clara a sense of purpose, making her feel useful and valued. Second, it provided her with the confidence she needed to step out of her comfort zone. By helping her classmates, Clara began to realize that she had something worthwhile to offer the world. This experience was like a mini epiphany for Clara. She discovered that she had a gift for teaching and, more importantly, a gift for helping others. What started as a simple classroom task soon turned into a passion. She even started teaching her siblings and other kids in the neighborhood, offering them mini lessons on the subjects she loved. Imagine that Clara Barton, the future founder of the American Red Cross, got her start as a pint-sized tutor in her little Massachusetts community. But Clara's school experience wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Even back then, education for girls was still a bit of a contentious topic. Many people thought women should stick to traditional roles and not focus too much on academics. Clara had to face these stereotypes head-on, but rather than being discouraged, she took it as a challenge to prove everyone wrong. And oh boy, did she prove them wrong. Clara wasn't just satisfied with overcoming her own obstacles, she wanted to help others do the same. This willingness to put others' needs above her own, even at a young age, showed the kind of empathy and leadership skills that would later make her one of the most revered figures in American history. So, to wrap it up, Clara Barton's school years were a transformative period in her life. It was a time of discovery, growth, and the first real signs of the amazing humanitarian she would become. Picture this. Clara Barton, just 11 years old, is living a somewhat normal childhood when life throws a curveball her way. Her older brother David, someone she looked up to and adored, fell from a roof and sustained serious injuries. Now, most kids at that age might feel helpless in a situation like this, but not Clara. Nope, she jumped right into action. Clara instantly became David's primary caregiver. And remember, there was no Google back then to look up what to do. Clara had to rely on whatever medical knowledge was available in her community, which was basically folk remedies, a few medical books, and advice from local doctors. She had to learn how to properly clean and dress wounds, administer medications, and help her brother eat and drink. This was high-stakes caregiving, my friends, and Clara was just a kid. But here's the fascinating part. Clara absolutely excelled in her role as a makeshift nurse. She was like a natural. She took it upon herself to learn everything she could about healthcare, even at such a young age. From the types of medicines that could ease her brother's pain to the best ways to prevent infections, Clara immersed herself in the world of 19th century medical care. She spent 2 whole years caring for David until he finally recovered. Talk about dedication. This experience was transformative for Clara. It was like a calling. She realized she had both the knack and the courage for nursing, qualities that would serve her well in the years to come. Even more than that, Clara learned about the emotional aspect of caregiving, the ability to offer comfort and emotional support to someone in need. She discovered that sometimes a warm smile or a comforting word could be just as healing as any medicine. You know how people say, "You don't know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have?" Well, Clara's experience with her brother David was one of those defining moments. At just 11 years old, she found herself at a crossroads, facing a family crisis that could have easily overwhelmed her. But instead of giving in to despair, Clara Barton stepped up and took charge, marking her first steps into a field she would revolutionize in the years to come. Fast forward a few years, and Clara Barton is no longer the shy little girl who needed encouragement to read aloud in class. And now, she's stepping up confidently to the front of the classroom as the teacher. And get this, she was only 17 years old when she started. If you think that's impressive, just wait, there's more. Clara was never one to settle for just doing a good job. She wanted to make a real impact. So what did she do? She started a free public school in Bordentown, New Jersey. Yep, you heard that right, a free school at a time when education wasn't accessible to everyone. Clara saw a need in the community for affordable education, and she stepped up to fill that gap. Her school started off small, but word quickly spread about this incredible teacher who was offering quality education for free. Before you knew it, the school was packed to the brim. The attendance skyrocketed so much that the little building they were using couldn't handle it anymore. So, they built a brand new, much larger facility to accommodate all the students. How amazing is that? But hold on a sec, because this is where things take a turn for the not-so-great. After the shiny new building was completed, guess what the school board did? They hired a man to become the head of the school and, get this, They paid him a lot more than they were paying Clara. Talk about a slap in the face. Clara had poured her heart and soul into creating this educational haven, and they basically pushed her aside like yesterday's news. Not cool, right? But Clara Barton wasn't one to let setbacks keep her down for long. She decided it was time to move on to other adventures. Sometimes, when one door closes, another one opens up wide to even more extraordinary opportunities. And as we'll soon find out, this was just the beginning for Clara, who would go on to achieve things far beyond what anyone could have imagined. So Clara left her teaching job, but her impact lingered. She had created something amazing, something that changed the lives of hundreds of children. And even though she stepped away from the chalkboard, her spirit of innovation, fairness, and advocacy for education lived on. It was yet another stepping stone on her path to becoming a legendary humanitarian. This part of her story is jam-packed with courage, sacrifice, and let's not forget, outright bravery. So, the American Civil War breaks out in 1861, right? A conflict tearing the nation apart, North against South, brother against brother. While many people were understandably afraid or hesitant, Clara Barton was like, nope, not sitting this one out. She knew she had the skills to make a difference, and boy, did she ever. Clara didn't just volunteer at some hospital far away from the action. She took the term frontline medical care to a whole new level. Dressed in practical clothes that would allow her to maneuver easily, Clara made her way to the bloody battlegrounds where the fighting was most intense. Imagine the chaos guns firing, cannonballs flying, and amidst it all, here's Clara, dodging bullets and artillery to bring bandages, food, and medical supplies to wounded soldiers. And it wasn't just about the physical injuries for Clara. She understood that the soldiers were far away from home, scared, and dealing with all sorts of emotional trauma. So she also brought items like candles, socks, and writing supplies so they could pen letters to their families. Think of it like 19th century care packages delivered under fire. Because of her tireless efforts and her absolute disregard for her own safety in the name of helping others, soldiers started calling her the Angel of the Battlefield. Now, if that's not superhero-level cool, I don't know what is. She had no formal nursing training and no army rank, but what she did have was an unbreakable spirit and the determination to help those in need. Clara Barton's Civil War service was so impactful that Army generals and even the President of the United States took notice. General Benjamin Butler made her the lady in charge of the hospitals at the front of the Army of the James, which was a huge deal. Can we just pause and appreciate how amazing this is? A woman in the 1800s getting recognized for her leadership in a male-dominated field during a time of crisis. Mind blown. To sum it up, Clara Barton's involvement in the Civil War wasn't just a stint as a volunteer nurse. She became an emblem of hope, courage, and compassion amidst the horrors of war. The title of Angel of the Battlefield was well earned, making her a true heroine in every sense of the word. While you might think you know her story, there are some hidden gems and unexpected friendships that make her even more fascinating. First off, let's address the relationship status. Was Clara Barton ever married, or did she have children? The answer to both is no. Clara devoted her life to humanitarian work, and that became her true passion and calling. She was married to her mission, you could say, and she didn't have room for much else in the way of family life. It's kind of empowering to think about how she carved her own path at a time when women were often defined by their roles as wives and mothers, don't you think? Now, on to some juicy details. Did you know Clara Barton had a close friendship with none other than Frederick Douglass? Yep, the Frederick Douglass, the ex-slave turned leading abolitionist and advocate for human rights. Imagine the conversations they must have had. Clara was deeply committed to the cause of civil rights, a belief that was pretty groundbreaking for a white woman during her time. She didn't just talk the talk, she walked the walk too. In fact, after the Civil War, Clara even worked on improving the educational system for newly freed slaves. She realized that freedom was just the first step on a long journey toward equality, and education was key to that journey. Clara didn't shy away from controversial topics or back down from what she believed in. She was friends with suffragists and civil rights activists, and she even clashed with the American government a few times. Clara wasn't about playing it safe. She was about doing what was right, even if it ruffled a few feathers. Here's another little-known tidbit. Clara wasn't just involved in wars and nursing, she also had an interest in science. During her time in Europe, she became friends with scientists and even attended the first international conference of the Red Cross. Talk about being a woman of many talents. So whether she was sharing ideas with Frederick Douglass, standing up for what she believed in, or diving into the world of science, Clara Barton was always pushing boundaries. She wasn't just the angel of the battlefield, she was an angel for human rights, education, and equality, too. In short, Clara Barton was a whole lot more than the sum of her famous deeds. She was a complex, multifaceted woman who defied the norms of her time to make a lasting impact on the world. Let's dive into one of the most iconic chapters of Clara Barton's life, her founding of the American Red Cross. But hold on to your seats because this tale has some surprising twists. After the Civil War and her time serving as the angel of the battlefield, you might think Clara Barton would want to take a break, maybe retire and write a memoir or something. But oh no, Clara was just getting started. During a trip to Europe, she was introduced to the International Red Cross and was like, "Whoa, this is amazing." The organization appealed to her sense of humanitarian service, and she quickly saw its potential for making a difference on a global scale. So, when she returned to the United States, she got right to work and founded the American Red Cross in 1881. Now here's where Clara did something truly revolutionary. She decided the American Red Cross wouldn't just be for wartime. Nope, she expanded its mission to include aid during natural disasters like hurricanes, earthquakes, and floods. This was groundbreaking and set the American Red Cross apart from other branches worldwide. But hold up, because here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. You may have heard rumors or whispers about a somewhat controversial period in Clara Barton's involvement with the American Red Cross. Let's get into it. Clara devoted her heart and soul to building the American Red Cross, but sadly, the relationship ended in a rather tumultuous way. Despite her tireless dedication and leadership, Clara faced internal conflicts within the organization. In the early 1900s, there were allegations of financial mismanagement within the American Red Cross. Clara was in her 80s by this point, and though she had poured decades of work into the organization, she found herself pushed out. She was, in a sense, tricked and sidelined by the very organization she had founded, as new management took over without her consent. This was a deeply heartbreaking chapter in her life. Imagine building something from the ground up, pouring all your love and effort into it, only to be ousted from your own creation. It's hard to swallow, and it's a part of the Clara Barton story that's often overlooked. Despite this painful episode, Clara Barton's legacy within the American Red Cross is undeniable. She set the foundation for an organization that would go on to save millions of lives and alleviate human suffering across the globe. All right, history adventurers, get ready for the grand finale. We're wrapping up the incredible saga that was Clara Barton's life, and let me tell you, it's a tale that just keeps on giving. Clara Barton was like the Energizer Bunny of humanitarian work. She just kept going and going. Even after stepping away from the American Red Cross at the jaw-dropping age of 83, yes, you heard that right, 83 years old. Clara didn't hang up her hat. She went on to advocate for civil rights, public education, and women's suffrage. Talk about a go-getter. Sadly, Clara passed away in 1912, but the amazing thing is her legacy didn't stop there. Oh no. Every single time the Red Cross steps in to help someone in need, whether it's after a natural disaster or in a conflict zone, Clara's spirit is right there, guiding the way. She may not have had kids of her own, but in a way, Clara Barton left behind an enormous family, the countless people she's inspired, and the millions saved through the organization she founded. Her story serves as a beacon of what one person, fueled by compassion and courage, can accomplish. So there you have it, folks. The incredible story of Clara Barton, a woman who exemplified courage, broke barriers, and left a legacy that's still making waves today. I hope you're as wowed by her as I am. That's a wrap on today's journey through history. I hope you had as much fun exploring Clara Barton's life as I did sharing it with you. And remember, the past is filled with incredible stories that shape who we are today, so stay curious and keep on exploring. Before we go, don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this episode, and if you want to hear more mind-blowing tales from history, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, history adventurers, stay curious and keep diving into the amazing stories that make up our world.